da 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 snare drum. Ba ba shika-doo-doo da ba 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 na 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 ba. Lettuce layer crunch.
Here's how you keep culture.
All right, everybody.
and we're
Wow,
back.
welcome to the pod.
And we're back. All right.
Well done. Okay.
Welcome from
I'm-
Hawaii, from Oahu.
Oh my God. I'm Shauna.
I'm Tyler in Hawaii.
And
I
I'm
can be Tyler
Tony
other
in
places, too.
space.
Tony in space.
Tony in space.
And we are Lettuce Later. Can you let us later? And the great thing is, people, we created this crazy name because Shauna literally couldn't say legislature the last time we spoke. And then we realized we put it online and no one has a lettuce related podcast. And by the way, if you are on a podcast and you do think this is about lettuce, you're on the wrong podcast. So I apologize.
We might mix in a fact or two, but probably not.
Also, if you have ideas about things we can talk about lettuce, we're more than happy to implement them in our podcast. Please just let us know. Let us later.
Ta-da! Okay, so speaking of, first of all, we want to shout out our new subscribers. Yes, thank you.
How do you do that? What's the nasal effect there? It's like, does that sound normal?
Nope.
Does it sound like I'm a rocket slowly dying? Ronnie.
Nope.
We're
Ronnie.
Ronnie, our number one commenter, ragging Tyler, big fan.
Ronnie, I'm going to shout you out real quick because there was a huge comment, right? 5 to 4 with a crying clown face.
5 and 4.
Yes, 5 and 4. I'm sorry. Yeah, see, I am the clown. And then I said something about Aaron Rodgers needing to go to ayahuasca, and you just said yes, which is a great synopsis and a beautiful take. So this week's episode is dedicated to Ronnie. We're looking forward to bringing you more hot takes, more hot cakes as well. If you keep subscribing, we're going to send you pancakes. So just be aware. And also tell your friends. The more subscribers we have, the more free shit we're going to give out. Starting with, by the way, a Jimmy Garoppolo facial T-shirt.
Yes.
And all of our, we're doing a random. What's it called? Roll the dice next week. Yeah, we're gonna roll the dice next week, not with our lives, but just in general. We're just gonna roll some dice, and then we're gonna hand out some gear. So, all the Lettuce Later fans, we love you.
Yes, awesome. All right, well, our first topic today has to do with labor laws, kind of. So, in the news lately, in the news, I found it quite shocking. Over the summer, Hyundai was cited for right in Alabama for employing 12 to 15-year-olds. Okay, now
oh my gosh.
Right, the company Packers Sanitation Services, which is a janitorial service for food companies in Minnesota and Nebraska, got popped for having kids as young as 13 working for them. So a lot of this stuff has been talked about, like labor laws, how important they are they implemented, who implements them. You also hear a lot of that stuff with Amazon and Starbucks trying to unionize and some of the union busting they're doing, and are they getting caught? Are these laws being implemented? So again, found it incredibly shocking that like children are working in our country. Not good. And then Tyler, you have your own experience with some labor laws and lawsuits, and so tell us a little bit about that.
I was not a child.
Well, no, I'm talking about labor laws in general.
Well, hold on. Let's follow up on that question because what is it? Let's talk about the economic situation behind all of these things. So obviously, you're in some rural parts of the country. You have people that probably still believe in a lot of things that we truly don't believe in the rest of the country, right? And people who are financially and fiscally in a tough spot. So honestly, what's the other alternative than sending your kid to go work? I think this is more of a structural corporation issue than it is a parent issue. It's like
it is. And can I interrupt really quick?
Oh yeah, there's no interrupting on the pod. It's just we're just winging it.
Well, no. So to give some facts that I found out while I was researching this, again, could not believe that federal law kind of incentivizes child labor.
Tell us more.
Really?
Right. So there is a federal law that they don't have to pay the minimum wage as high as the regular minimum wage for adults. So the youth minimum wage, I guess is what you call it, is 4.25 instead of 7.25. So they're some of these companies are almost incentivized to hire kids because they pay them less and they can make more money.
When was this enacted? When did this come into fruition?
I did not know that. I just saw that fact and was like too stunned to move on. And
Okay.
so I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, that's fascinating. I'm not really sure what to say along those lines. I mean, obviously there's a heavy historical precedent associated with child labor laws, and again, it all surrounds economic strife, right? So you have families that come in, they're not being paid enough, they need more money, and especially when inflation is the way it has been, it's
Mhm.
it's damn near
Yeah.
impossible to have children and have the children be in the house and spend money on the children, let alone
Yeah.
if you're getting childcare paid for or if you're getting food paid for on a regular basis. So sending my kid to work, I mean, again, if my child decided I wanted to work at age 14, I wouldn't say no necessarily. Right now, granted, would I send them to go work in a factory? Probably not. We probably talk about starting a business or doing something else. So I would
Working
say
at
that,
camp.
right, sure, but I'm saying for actual, like, if we actually need money, like, so my point is, this is a structural thing, not necessarily with the parents because they're forced into this situation, right? Especially in, again, places like Alabama, but this is a structural problem with, and it's all corporations, right? I mean, we get all of our clothes from, Eastern Asian countries where they pay people 2 cents an hour to do things and they pay children 2 cents an hour to do those things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
unfortunately speaking, and Goebel, you're the problem. That fucking beanie right there. That's coming right from a child's hand, man. But this is,
Take it off.
but this is the
Still
crazy.
comfortable though.
I think this is the irony of the argument right here, right? We're like kind of okay doing that and supporting those things, but then it happens to 15 people in Alabama, and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose, right? And these kids are like 12 and 13 years old. So it's like, I feel like we're a little hypocritical on that sense. Maybe we're a little holier than thou, if you will, in America, because that's us in a nutshell, right? As long as nothing happens to
Yeah.
us, everything's fine.
Yeah,
And
you're not wrong.
so that's where I stand on that topic. I think it's hard to tell a family, don't send your kid to work at age 14 if you need these people to work.
So Shauna, was this illegal or were they legally hiring them?
No, it was illegal. That's why they got busted. Now the company has come out and said that, like, well, if they show fake documents, we can't help anything. But I work at a school. I feel like you can tell the difference between a 12-year-old and an 18-year-old. Like,
Yeah. Well,
you know,
especially in a factory. I mean,
right.
like
And there was
I don't know, the details of the Hyundai situation, but like when you're working in a car factory, you can't be a minor. Like there's heavy
it's
machinery and
very
robots
dangerous. And that was part
yeah.
of how this popped up, was there were kids that had like chemical burns
Yeah.
from this
Oh my
place.
gosh.
Yeah.
Right, because of the cleaning stuff that they were using. And so then they would go to school and teachers noticed, and when you work at a school, you're required to report child abuse. So that's how some of this was found out.
Well, and we would start thinking about these things too. It takes massive and drastic change to make anything happen, right? I mean, again, if we think about when labor laws were originally changed, they were living in an era in the 1890s and 1910s where there was, I mean, horrific things happening to people on a regular basis, even adults,
Right.
right? And kids were working
Right.
Yeah.
since 5 years old, right? So, you had to have massive changes to antitrust laws. You had to have Teddy Roosevelt come in and basically spend 10, 12, 15 years trying to change all these laws. That's why I had an argument with someone the other day, and they were like, hey, the free market's fantastic. People get paid what they want and people are incentivized. Like, that's fucking stupid. You know why? Because if I was a business owner, right, I would say, well, if I can get free labor, by the way, FYI, slave labor for all the cotton pickers out
Right.
there, right? If I can get free labor, duh, my business is going to run more successfully. Or if I can get labor on the reduced front, right? This is what,
And there's more profit. Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
And so to
Well,
say
and
that
that's
people are incentivized to work harder to get more money, that doesn't work that way. No, people who make the money are going to either be incentivized to pay people more, and that's what you've seen the last couple of years by people saying, "Screw you, I'm going to go do content online," or "Screw you, I'm going to go day trade because you're paying me 10 cents an hour to do all your dirty work," right?
yeah.
And so it's still these companies trying to circumvent these things and skate these laws, man. And it just drives me freaking bananas to think about it. And again, I'm the person wearing the clothes from overseas. We're all made for 10 cents. So maybe I'll just strip naked.
Well, and that's kind of what you.
Well, you're at the beach, so
That's,
I'm taking it off for all the
but like
OnlyFans page, Tyler Johnson.
but like you were saying, Tyler, like some of this stuff is coming back around, you know.
Yeah.
And you think now you're thinking about unionizing. Some of these companies are getting busted for firing people for trying to unionize, which is against the law in some places, you know,
and
the labor laws.
And we always talk about the balance, right? There's unfettered anything is dangerous, right?
Yeah.
I say the same. Unfettered socialism is dangerous. It's communism, right? It's like
Right.
you know, the idea in China in the 1960s that they had the Great Society. I'm sorry, not the Great Society. That was Lyndon Johnson. Something like the Great Society, where basically everyone across China was saying, "Hey, send us all your food. We'll distribute to everybody." Well, guess what? No one ever distributed to anybody. No one had any food. Everyone died, right? And on the opposite end, to have unfettered capitalism essentially means that people are at the highest end of these things. They can make the rules. Right. They can make the rules the way they want to make.
Monopoly.
Yeah. And again, if you told anyone
exactly.
you can make X amount of money and pay people nothing to do it, 99.9% of people, including Ronnie, right, on this podcast, you would do it, Ronnie.
Wow.
Right? You would do it. Right. So, you know, that's why regulation is important. Overregulation, however, makes sure you live in California and it makes it a nightmare to do anything.
Don't hate.
Yeah. But like,
no, but
that's what it is, right?
It's one of those things that's coming back around. Like, I think when we were growing up, we're all in our 30s, you didn't really hear a lot about these discussions. Maybe it's because we didn't work, I don't know, but like I just don't think these things came up a lot. And then after the 2008 2009 financial crisis, there was people were just desperate to find a job, so you kind of just put up with whatever and got paid whatever. And then the pandemic hit and people were like, well, I can work from home, I can do this. And then, you know, 1 million Americans died and not all of them were 85 years old.
Right.
A lot of people were still working. And so now the labor force is like, we need you to work. Yeah. And so some people are starting to look at labor laws, look at unionizing, look at getting paid more. And here we are, children working in the country.
Yeah. But as we've talked about, this isn't abnormal. And in the baseball sense, right? The baseball sense, the line of thinking was always there's a golden egg at the end. So just fucking deal with it. Like that's literally what they tell you, right? And so a lawsuit just passed, literally a labor rights lawsuit that was basically since 1975, the pay for minor league baseball players has not changed. So if give you a great example, I was roughly paid $6,000 per year, and you sign a little contract. They control you for the first 7 years of your draft year. And then after that, you can go sign a free agent contract, but you only get paid for 6 months out of the year. And what they do is they contract you as a full-time worker. So you can't you can't apply for unemployment insurance because you have a full-time job. It's hard to go get another job because you're trying to be a professional athlete. And just to give you an example, I think the average pay among even shitty basketball players, no offense, and some minor league football players is somewhere around $100,000, right? Yeah. $70,000 to $100,000 a year for fewer games, fewer time spent, et cetera, et cetera. So these guys, you know, again, they tell you when you're doing this, there's about 120 guys per organization. You stretch that out over 32 organizations. And the way they could have done this is they could have paid everyone in minor league baseball a living wage with 1/10 of Alex Rodriguez's salary 1 year. Like they literally could have not even for all the teams, all living wage, it was 1/10 of Alex Rodriguez's salary for 1 year, right? Not including all the other guys who get paid 400 million, Trout, whatever it might be. So anyway, about 3-4 years ago, these guys all came together, former baseball players. They filed a class action lawsuit against Major League Baseball, who, by the way, is a trust organization. So you can't file anything against Major League Baseball usually. And they won, and they have $185 million deal come through, which, by the way, to read through that deal is fascinating because those guys
you guys won the lawsuit.
Yeah, we won the lawsuit, but it's like any class action lawsuit. It's like the guys who, you know, who were at the forefront of the lawsuit, they get like 40% of everything. The lawyers get like $10 million for just lawyering.
Of course.
And then, you know, everyone else gets like a percentage of a percentage, right? So they basically calculated out if you were in California and Arizona, sometimes Florida, they calculated out based on whatever the minimum wage was, however many hours you worked, and a percentage of that. So I could get a paycheck between 4 cents and probably $40,000. I have no idea, but it's probably closer to 4 cents at this point in time, which is kind of the universal slap in the face once
Class action
again.
lawsuit.
You
Yeah.
know, but the irony behind that is you have people, when you're put in that situation, you do things that are abnormal for what you would normally do. You live places that are abnormal for what you normally do. So we're near an environment where you're, and again, I was lucky enough to have support from parents, but when you're in an environment where you don't make any money, even below the poverty line, you do things that you don't do on a regular basis. You eat McDonald's way more than you should on a regular basis. You drive a shitty car for 10 years. You live in a studio apartment with 6 people at one period of time. Don't tell the people we rented against. So, to a certain extent, I feel for these people. I don't fully feel because I've been lucky enough to get out of that now, but I feel for these people that are living this life because, like, again, if I had someone living with me and said, "Hey, I'm willing to go get a job," and be like, "Sure, man, bring home anything so we can eat this week."
It's a level of desperation that not many people understand.
Yeah, right. And again, to be stuck in that for a longer period of time is devastating, right? So, yeah, I mean, again, I fully blame all of the corporations over and over again, and I fully blame the politicians
who were bought
Yeah.
by the corporation.
And the thing about that is it's just like the NCAA is there's so few people who actually make it to the highest level,
Yeah.
and they just use you. I mean, I just knowing you guys personally and how your bodies were torn up playing sports, it's just, it's affected your adult lives.
Yeah. The NCAA, a $4 billion nonprofit organization.
That's
Dude,
a whole nother pod.
That's a whole other episode.
Netflix, FIFA, the FIFA drama. FIFA.
Oh, that's right,
shit.
Tyler.
For all you people, right, that don't know, FIFA is a non-profit organization. Holy fuck. Like, I thought the NCAA was bad, or all the churches were bad, right, especially around the South here, or the Catholic Church is a non-profit organization. They've been around for like thousands of years and have bajillions of dollars in gold and stuff like that. But FIFA is how is that even plausible? Like, how do you file your taxes?
It's
and
tax
you say,
law.
hey guys, how much money did you make last year? I was like 50, 60, like 50, 60,000. Nah, like billion. Yeah, like billion. But none of it, but it's all going to charity, right? We're all nonprofit.
And they can't pay women.
And the guys in the background are just like, yeah, totally, man. Absolutely.
Oh my god.
Nonprofit. FIFA, ladies and gentlemen. Like, put that on hashtag freaking FIFA no longer a nonprofit organization. How about that? Also,
got
it. A whole podcast on the idiocy of nonprofits. I just want to point that out.
Next time.
Yeah, next time on the pod. Ronnie, you better get your
let us later.
Yeah, you better get your beers ready, Ronnie. This is gonna be a long one. Yeah, so I don't want to dive into the Netflix segment. We're not supposed to dive into that, but just but it really comes down to it ties back in, because it's like, if you are able to, and that documentary was wild, because if you are able to infiltrate political environments, right, you can do whatever the fuck you want, man. And these guys, all they did was Qatar came in and said, hey, we're going to give you a shit ton of money, right? And then we're not going to give the money to you necessarily, but we're going to give money to countries. And I was like, man, these guys are wizards. Forget bribing normal people. Bribe an entire country. They literally bribed the entire country of France. Right? That was the whole thing. I was like, that's nuts.
Ballsy move.
Yeah, with $1 trillion trade deal with Qatar. I'm like, that's amazing. Like, these people are like a whole different echelon of criminal. Way past.
Gotta hand it to him.
Way past the WeWork guy. The WeWork guy is just getting rich people. These guys are like countries, man. And they had the US infiltrated as well, right? They had this guy in the US who was just fucking in the political spheres going like, hey guys, just throw them money, and it's all a freaking money grab, man.
Well, and it all kind of ties in, like you're saying, with the labor laws, like we were talking about, where these corporations have so much money and so much influence over politicians that politicians kind of look the other way. And it was like, well, do we need to implement this law?
Yeah.
Do we need to regulate this? Probably not.
Yeah. And by the
So
way,
it all ties in.
and by the way, that's all politicians, right? We always argue about this, but it's like it's everyone.
Katie Porter, not Katie
Yeah,
Porter. Not our girl, Katie
No.
Porter.
not our number 2 fan, right behind you, Ronnie. Our number 2 fan, Katie Porter. We're gonna slide in your DMs. Our production manager.
Get her on the pod.
Our production manager, by the way, who we did not fire last time. Our production manager, who we did not fire, is back on it. So, Katie Porter, we're begging you, come on our pod. We would love to talk to you about corruption. We'd love to test you. We'd love to put you on a, on a lie detector test right on episode number 3. Have you ever taken money from FIFA?
Boom, right out the gate.
Question number 1. Have you ever taken money from FIFA? Question number 2. What are your feelings about Jimmy Garoppolo? That's it. They'll tell you whether you can be on our pod or not.
All right. So our second topic today has to do with baseball. We're kind of baseball themed, even though baseball's over.
By the way, all of us used to play baseball or softball. Just FYI for all the pundits on here who are watching us going, who are these hacks? Right? Ronnie with the clown face. By the way, Ronnie, again, it was a happy clown face, and I appreciate that, right? Because it was like joking. And it was a
kind clown.
We'll get there. But we are sports people. I played Division I baseball and I played professional baseball, as I just told you. Shauna played Division I softball. Tony played Division I baseball. And if you want to look it up, as a recorded ERA somewhere close to 100, which is astounding.
Still counts.
Also has
100. Yep.
Also has the NCAA Division I.
That's why he's in space now.
For most Sour Patch Kids eaten per 9.
We jettisoned him into space.
Yeah. I think that's a valid fact, by the way. I was a good Sour Patch eater. big Sour Patch fan.
Kids, hold on, kids or watermelon?
Oh, kids all day, man.
Oh yeah, the kids. I would eat kids all day. Right? Forget child labor laws. I would eat kids all day. This I get kicked off the internet, by the way. Someone's gonna cut this out to this kids. We're gonna get canceled so
Sour Patch, man. We're talking about Sour Patch.
Noble.
Also,
come on, Ronnie.
We'll do this in post-production, but comment below. Kids or watermelon? Comment below. Sorry, hold on.
Sour Patch.
Let me get my.
You gotta know.
My background is
Tyler's hand is like
it's so blurry. Comment below. Get my eyebrows in the way. Moving my eyebrows around. Yeah, if you didn't realize, by the way, fans at home, I have my eyebrows done. There it is.
Did you put concealer on?
Yep. All right, back to San Francisco.
So the Marlins made a little history, did a little thing here. Shout out to the Marlins.
Shout out to the Marlins.
They hired a woman, Caroline O'Connor, to be the president of business operations. So the Marlins are the first major U.S. sports franchise to have women serving simultaneously as president and GM. So as they put it in the article I read on ESPN, one woman takes care of on the field, one woman takes care of off the field. So I, speaking as a woman that grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s, you didn't see a ton of women in sports. And as an athlete, it was hard to grow up that way. You kind of feel weird about yourself and you're like, what do I do with my life when I grow up? Luckily for me, I got to see Erin Andrews, who I would also love to have on the pod. Oh my God. On TV. And I was like, how do you do that? And so I got my degree in broadcast journalism because of Erin Andrews, but it's really nice to see. And I know she brought it up in the article. She's kind of quoted as saying, this is really good for little girls to see. And I completely agree. It's so awesome. And, hopefully the Marlins succeed. She talked a lot about the World Baseball Classic being played in their stadium and how they can sustain that and bring some of those fans in to be Marlins fans. So that's kind of her goal for the year. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. And congrats to Caroline O'Connor.
Congrats to Caroline O'Connor.
Woo!
5 lettuce crunches. Crunch, crunch, crunch. But crunch, crunch, crunch.
Goldie, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm all for it, obviously, as a supporter. I just hope they don't suck.
I know.
Not the Marlins have been so bad they either win the World Series or in last place year after year, and I just hope they are successful, so it's like a happy ending. You know what I mean? Yay, we won the World Series 2020.
Yeah, there's a ton of extra pressure on them because they're women in baseball.
Can you guys hear that?
No.
No, you can't hear that. I'm trying to play the lettuce crunch sound. I don't know if I can share my screen. Hold on a second.
You need a big mic.
Keep going. I'm gonna keep going.
A big mic.
Do stuff in the background.
Big Mike. Yeah, I thought it was really cool. You know, she used to work for companies like IBM and Morgan Stanley. So this was kind of an interesting move for her. But Derek Jeter, shout out to Derek Jeter, who hired Kim Ng, who is the GM, and then hired Caroline O'Connor, and brought them in and believed in them and have given them a chance. And hopefully, like Goble was saying, they succeed.
Yeah.
You know, I'll just say one thing. You know, like it's probably been what 10 years now since we had the first referee who was a female in the NFL.
Yeah, about that.
And it's like every other game now I watch, like either basketball or football, and there's a female referee, and it's like no big deal. So I really look forward to the day when we have like females who are coaches and you know in the offices, and it's just no big deal. It's just normal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like let's celebrate it today, but let's hope it's normal in 5-10 years.
Well, and Title IX celebrated its 50th anniversary, I believe, this year. So it all kind of ties in, you know, those little girls like me that like grew up in sports and are like, I want to stay in sports. Those are kind of the things that are coming to fruition now. So it's really cool.
I agree with Goble though. It's just I wish they would put women in more I don't know, advantageous positions. You know, it's like being the GM of the Marlins. Well, where your budget's terrible. It's like being the GM for the A's, right? You know, it's like, well, great, you get no budget, you get a crappy field, you can't attract anybody. Like, how are you supposed to showcase your talents potentially? Because the woman who came over from with Derek Jeter, she was with the Yankees before that, correct? Like she was the special assistant to Hal Steinbrenner for the longest time, something like that. I believe so. I'm sorry to yeah, go ahead, Goble. Sorry.
And it's kind of like Shauna always says about politics. You know, it's just like you know, white men have been screwing it up for how many hundreds of years. Let's let some women do it.
Let's let white women screw
it up.
Let us
let that happen. I have the lettuce background sound, but I don't know if I can play it without just completely ruining it.
You can't hear it, man.
We
need to get a soundtrack guy.
By the way, historically speaking, white women kind of suck too. So
no, 100%.
Just FYI, they're the problem.
White women sucked in the last election. So
oh man, yeah. All I can think of Google it, people. Emmett Till, right? That's all I'm going to say. Emmett Till, right? Some lady lied. She lived till she was like 90, and then was like, "Whoops."
Oh.
Sorry, you know, white women.
Yeah.
Except except Katie Porter. We love Katie Porter.
Katie Porter.
Yeah.
Woo!
Basically, we don't hate anyone on this podcast. We just think that if you're a terrible person, you're a terrible person, and we really, we should just really point that out. So, and you know who's not a terrible person? Katie Porter.
All right.
As far as we know,
we love Katie Porter.
We know you're taking campaign. Something you're taking money from someone, Katie.
She does not.
She's taking cookies.
I know it, Katie.
Cookies.
Taking cookies to people. You're baking for them, and it looks amazing.
Her and her whiteboard.
You're right from JP Morgan. It's coming right. I can feel it.
It's
yeah, Katie. I know it. If this ever happens to the podcast where she becomes corrupt, I'm going to throw like a freaking party on here because I freaking told you so. Every single person in politics is the worst.
I have faith.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yay for women.
Yes, yeah, big deal. Pretty awesome. Okay, so now we get to talk about how wrong Tyler was last week.
Say like my job, I'm the talent. My job is to be,
wrong.
I give takes. Right, I give takes. That's all I do. That's all.
Hot takes.
I'm gonna give some more takes this time as well.
You're the Colin Coward of.
Please let me know which one you'd like me to explain. No, I'm not the Colin Coward because he doesn't even bother like going back in his takes at the time. He just like screw it. I'm just gonna keep going. Yeah.
Powers ahead.
Hey, Colin, that was totally wrong, man. Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, I'm right. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
So the Niners won. I was wrong. They didn't win by 20. They almost lost and only scored 22 points.
Barely.
Okay, let's really dive into this because I'm gonna piss Ronnie off again. But like, let's dive into the ultimate crux of what I'm talking about when it comes to the 49ers, right?
Key stat.
There's two big things. There's two huge things. Jimmy Garoppolo is 10-2, right? Or something like that. Or is it 10-0 or 10-2?
10-2.
10-2 in his entire career when he has never thrown a touchdown pass. That to me says you don't need
That's a
to
great
exist,
stat.
right? You don't need
That's
to
a great
exist,
stat.
right? Or Christian McCaffrey could exist in that front, right? In the Wildcat, whatever it might be. So my problem here is, or my actual unproblem in the last 2 weeks, is the fact that Jimmy G's been really great, right? Like dead serious. All he has to do is not turn the football over, and we would have won a Super Bowl like 3 freaking times already, right?
You're not wrong.
Like I'm dead serious. And this is my point. So my ultimate analysis from this point is like we are a Super Bowl winning team culture. We have to win Super Bowls for it to make sense of a season. Like we're not the Lions, right? We're not just, hey, we hope we have a winning record ever, right? Which I have a lot of good things to say about the Lions, by the way. But
we'll get there.
But with Jimmy G, it's like, dude, we could be a winning team. We are a winning team. Stop throwing picks in horrible situations, right? It's like watching Zach Wilson against the Patriots, right?
Oh my gosh,
dude,
yeah.
what the fuck? Like it looked like he was throwing the game, right? And you're just like, and then of course the other crux of the conversation is our coach sucks, right? He sucks when it's the fourth quarter and we're behind. He sucks in the red zone, right? I didn't get any stats this week.
At what point are 49er fans going to recognize that Kyle Shanahan is not a good coach?
I say it.
He is the problem.
I say it all the time on this podcast. I said it. It's there. It's out in the universe, right?
Pod number 3. Pod number 2. He said it many times.
But here's the kicker, Shauna, right? Like it's like realize the fact that we could have lost that game very easily. Right. We completely
I'm not arguing that.
Right. We completely dominated that game on multiple fronts, but no, we get down to the red zone, we kick field goals, and then we end up and then we end up scoring. We have like 7 red zone trips, and we end up scoring like 16 points. Right.
I know.
And you're like, what the fuck just happened? That's how we lost to the Broncos. That's how we lost to the Bears after I think in the first half against the Bears, we allowed -3 yards. Like, how is that even plausible? And obviously,
it was like pouring rain, but
yeah, sure.
I take your point.
Right. But the Bears have picked it up a lot and they're a lot better now. But the fact of the matter is if you can't have a coach that can put the ball in the end zone, you can't compete later into the playoffs. Sure, we're going to get past the Cowboys because they suck, right? And they can't stop the run. We're going to potentially win the division if we can beat the Seahawks again. I'm a little more concerned that our schedule looks kind of shitty going forward, and we play.
Well, we play the Cardinals in Monday Night Football this week.
We never beat the Cardinals. But like, look at our record against Cardinals. It's like us and the Rams, right?
In reverse.
In reverse. So that's my only kicker. And again, I'll be the first person to say is Jimmy Garoppolo, you did fantastic the last 2 games. You deserve it, man.
He looked so good at the second half the last 2 games.
I know.
It's like, who is this new guy?
I know. You're not wrong.
By the way, for all the fans out there who are real 49er fans, you know that if they have a good first quarter, there's a 0% chance they're going to win that game. Like if they score a touchdown in the first quarter, there's no way they're winning, right? Because it just goes downhill.
We've had quite a few comebacks lately.
Right. So again, fourth quarter Kyle, iffy. Fourth quarter Jimmy, usually iffy, but getting better. And maybe someone finally said, like, dude, stop fucking throwing to the other team.
Pull your head out of your ass.
Yeah, like let's throw it, check it down, run it somewhere. And he's actually made some quality decisions. So to Jimmy Garoppolo, kudos to you. And I'm happy that the 49ers win, right?
Yes.
And I was also wrong about the Seahawks. Even though they played a good game, but it is what it is. So, and they're like, that's interesting because they're super young. Geno Smith is playing super well. I don't know how long that's going to last and how long they're going to be able to keep it up. If they stay, it really is about who stays the healthiest the longest. So the NFC is a complete train wreck on a regular basis. I mean, we got the same freaking record as the Commanders, right? So that's a fascinating story, by the way, not to get on a tangent, but there's a possibility that every single AFC team could get in the playoffs and every single NFC East team. I'm sorry, AFC East and NFC East team. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's pretty bananas. I mean, I feel like there's always one part of the league that dominates though. Like, what was it a couple years ago? We were like 12 and whatever, and we didn't make the playoffs. Like, remember that year? We were like 10-6 and like we didn't make the playoffs.
What year was that? What year are you referencing?
No, it was a few years ago. It
We had
wasn't that
12
long
wins and
ago.
oh, okay. Well, we got to check where's our producer guy? Can we check the stats on that one?
That guy.
Stat guy. Get the stat guy out.
But yeah, I feel like, and then you always have one part of the league that is, below 500 and that team finishes first. So like, it's kind of all over the place. Now, I think there's more parity right now because the NFL is a mess. Like, there's so many teams that beat teams they shouldn't and vice versa. So, like you look at the Lions beating the Packers a couple weeks ago. Like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. Again, shout out to the Lions. I'm just going to point this out. The Lions, by the way, speaking of it,
and they were the hard knock team, weren't they?
well, and this is the thing that frustrates me about watching all the pundits, right? So I watch NFL Live, which I love. I love Dan Orlovsky and Marcus Spears. It's a really great show. I really wish I was on it, but I watch that and then Get Up, right? Another great show. They bring a lot of great people on, but all they talk about is the Cowboys. They talk about Tom Brady, and then they talk about one of the Eagles, whoever it might be, right? And the Bills.
And like,
it's a guess between who they believe is the best team in the NFL. And then invariably someone brings up the 49ers and I'm like, they're 4-5. Like, I'm sorry, 5-4. What the fuck? So
get it right.
So this is my issue, right? I wish someone would be like, I wish there was be a 5-minute segment on the fucking Lions, man. The Lions have the best, like one of the best offenses in the goddamn football league right now. They are averaging 24.3 points a game. That's fucking nuts, right?
That's pretty awesome.
However, they have a historically bad defense, right? So as much as people talk shit about Jared Goff, which it was so weird. He had this meteoric downfall, right? Like was a all-star, right? Was an all-pro, almost won the
Super Bowl.
Went to the Super Bowl, shit the bed, and then the next year was awful, right? But he's leading a high-powered offense that on any week at this point in time could beat any NFL team. And no, I'm not surprised that the Lions have won the last 2 games because they score like at least 24 points a game. And sometimes it's like they lost one game this year where they scored 44 points. They lost that game. That's fucking crazy. Also, like every single person on their defense.
How do you do that?
Right?
Yeah.
But let's check this stat out, right? As of last week, the Bills, 3rd place in their division, by the way. Yep. The Dallas Cowboys, right, who were once the team of the century like 4 games ago, also in 3rd place in their division. And almost in 4th place in their division if the Washington Commanders beat them in a couple weeks. So it's crazy to think about that those are the teams that get the most attention, but those teams are both on the precipice of not making the playoffs.
That would be nuts too.
Yeah.
That is banana.
Absolutely.
And then who the fuck are they going to talk about on NFL Live? Right.
We have nothing to talk about. Those teams got eliminated.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to talk about Daniel Jones, right? Dang it. But that's the state of the NFL right now, and it's fucking crazy. And I think it'd be cool if 4 teams from either division, got into the playoff. That'd be crazy to think about, and a crazy part of the strength of the division.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to do a little fact check with Shauna's 10-win season that they didn't make the playoffs.
Sorry, it was first a 12-win season, FYI.
I thought it was like a high number.
How high is she gonna go? They were 16-0. They didn't make the playoffs.
The last time the San Francisco 49ers had a double-digit winning season and didn't make the playoffs.
For all the people who can't count at home.
1991.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
Couple of years ago, Shauna.
That's
a couple of years ago.
That's the year. And which team won the Super Bowl that year? Oh fuck, I don't even know yet.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Probably the Cowboys.
Was it not the
high percentage possibility?
I thought it was the Cowboys or then the Redskins. Weren't they really good in the early 90s? I'm sorry, Redskins, Commanders.
I don't know, man.
Department of Labor. Well, you're looking it up. You're the Google guy. Who just
New York Giants won it.
In 91?
New York Giants.
No, they didn't.
That's Super Bowl. The Super Bowl in 1991. So I don't understand.
Super Bowl 91. Bill Belichick.
Oh my God.
Defensive coordinator of that team. So anyway,
the Washington now Commanders.
Right. Okay. So thank you. I was going to say I thought that was the case, but no. But it's like so, Shauna. That's wrong on a variety of fronts.
No, but I feel like a few years ago we had like a high win
Shauna,
season.
we talked about this. This can't be a podcast where you just say, I feel like things are going to happen. Like that's not how we roll. That's how you make stupid predictions like Tyler does on a regular basis.
All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Speaking of stupid prediction number 2. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go.
Speaking of the Bills, they're moving their game to Detroit.
Yes.
They're playing the Bills
officially?
and the Browns are playing in
They were-
Detroit. How crazy
I
is
saw
that?
something today on Instagram. I don't remember what Instagram it was on, but it was that they're supposed to get 6 feet of snow during the game.
Yeah.
And they listed 2 of the players that were under 6 feet.
They should have kept the game. They should have been like,
I was like, oh, that would be a challenge.
Yeah.
I
They
think
both
that's
get-
good though. That's like 6 feet of snow during the game in a couple hours. Like what?
I think I saw an article that said like thunder. It was like thunder snowpocalypse or something like that. I'm like, oh my God. You know what? Like, you know when people are in Buffalo, when they're calling it
climate change.
Yeah, when they're calling it a snowpocalypse.
But they still have a sellout. They still have a sellout.
Yeah,
they show
That's
up.
so
The
true.
fans.
You're there with the shovels, all the shovel guys. You know, like this. Well, you know why they're playing? You know why they're going to play in Detroit is because the next game they're playing on Thanksgiving against Detroit, so they're playing it back to back.
That makes
Detroit.
sense.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Also, dude, imagine like what if the Lions win 4 games in a row coming like against the. Can you imagine that? Like this is a real situation here, people. Right? And you know the division is the Vikings are running away with the division, but anyway, speaking of, so bad prediction number 2, I'm basically told Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers to go fucking retire, and both of them. Okay, but I want to just point out the one that wasn't a wrong move by me because both of those teams finally figured it out, right? Their quarterbacks are old as dirt, right? They're lucky that they were MVPs the year before. They're still kind of spry, quote unquote. But the Green Bay Packers in that game against, I'm blanking on who they played. They played the Cowboys. In that game against the Cowboys, even though they were down 14 going into the fourth quarter, they ran the ball a lot. And they only had Aaron Rodgers throw the ball 20 times. 20 times. That was the lowest mark in his career in like 15 years. And guess what?
Yeah, he only had
They
11
won.
passes in the first 3 quarters. It was nuts.
Kyle, are you listening? Run
Well,
the dang
also-
ball, Kyle.
But I think too, they waited to throw it at an effective time.
Yeah, because
You know what
run
I
the
mean?
football and you play action pass. Again, when our offense is running really well, you run the football the hell out of it, and the play action pass off, and people are just standing wide open down the field. And usually it's Kyle Juszczyk standing by himself, and
So true.
Jimmy misses him by 15 feet, right? But the Bucs did the same thing. The Bucs were like, okay, our running back Leonard Fournette, God bless him, but he's like 35 years old. So new guy, right? Infusion of I think Richard White, something like that. Infusion of energy. He ran for a lot of yards. I think Brady only threw the ball like 26 times, something like that. And they won the game, man. You can't have these guys that are 45 years old throwing the ball. Like the one
45 times, right?
one game Brady, I think, threw the ball 50 times or 55 times. I think that's fucking
That's nuts.
And they scored like 7 points. like Tom, how far are you throwing it, pal? Like, what is this? Like, what are they all
Couple
like?
yards.
Yeah, like just like throwing it 4 feet in front of you, and then
Short out.
just getting your percentages up. It's like Derek Carr's offense. Yeah, talk about that debacle out in
No,
Raider
it's so,
Land.
my dogs. That's so sad.
They're doing horribly. Yeah, so that was prediction number 2. Both of those guys probably okay. Well, one, I'm not going to fully backtrack because both those guys probably should still retire. They just don't look like they really want to be there. Like I'm just dead serious. However,
Aaron Rodgers especially looks like he's not having a good time.
Yeah. Tom looked a little bit better this weekend, a little less sad, right? But
Still
and rightfully
divorced, a little less sad.
yeah, I'd be sad too. But but when you're looking at these guys, it's just like you had a great run, man. Like just call it a day. Like go out on like how cool would have been if Aaron Rodgers went out winning a fucking MVP. Like you can't get much better than that other than trying to win the Super Bowl,
Right.
So I don't know. That's crazy. Did I do anything else wrong last week? What else did I say wrong?
I don't know. Many things.
Just the rest of my
Ronnie will tell you later.
Ronnie will let you know in the comments.
Ronnie, we'd like you to watch episode 1 more time and give me a list of things I said completely wrong last week.
Do you have any bold predictions for this week?
In the NFL?
Yeah, sure.
Lions, man. who are the Lions playing? I got to do research better. I didn't even realize that I was going to be talking about the Lions so much, but the Lions are going to be in it, right? Picking to win it, picking to win it.
The Lions play the Giants. Ooh,
So here's
Oh,
the
that's a
kicker.
bold prediction.
that's a
Check this
bold
out.
prediction.
Check this out. The Lions scoring 24 points a game. The Giants barely scoring 20 points a game. Like they're lucky.
playing in New Jersey too.
They're playing in New Jersey. The Lions, if they can get it going, man, if they can score some points, but the Giants' defense is pretty good. But if they can just briefly stop Saquon Barkley, watching the Giants is like watching the 49ers. It's like if you can kind of stop the run, like you're going to keep us in the ball game.
Also, we're filming this on Thursday, and the Packers are currently losing to the Titans 7-6.
Yeah. Also, the Titans run the damn ball, right? They don't do anything. They just hand the ball to Derrick Henry, right? But the crazy thing is like, is that not how you beat good teams? Like they were within, they had 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Ryan Tannehill got hurt. I'm sorry, got sick. And then Malik Willis, who is not very good right now, but he's a rookie. He went in, he was like 7 for 20 or something like that. But they handed the ball to Derrick Henry. They were within 3 points of beating the Chiefs up until like 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Damn.
So like run the ball, keep it out of the hands of the other guy, right? And then play some good defense.
Right.
That is how you win later in the year, right? Which is why I'm not worried about us later in the year if Kyle stops dicking around. But the Giants, that's going to be an interesting case. Can the Detroit defense pull their heads gently out of their asses? Because you might as well not have anyone out there at this point in time. These guys are it's like just a piece of Swiss cheese out there, holes all over the place. It's a mess. Like it's like New York City with a lot of potholes open, when Spider-Man, you know what I mean? So, that happens.
Shout out to Spider-Man.
Shout out to Spider-Man. Sponsored by Spider-Man 3 with all the villains in it. So anyway, bold prediction. The Lions are going to keep it close. I think they've turned over their winning ways. And I think they're going to keep it close with the Bills too. And I think they're going to keep close with the Bills. But again, that might be a fucking stupid. that might be a fucking stupid prediction about
Lions Giants. We got to keep an eye on it.
48 hours from now.
Noted.
Who's got the prediction on? We got in predictions for the Niners this week?
Okay, well, I think they're gonna win.
By how much?
By how are you gonna pick 20 again?
Another 20 spot? Your exaggerations on are pretty extreme right now.
I love the optimism.
Okay, that's
what 96 games 1 year and didn't get into the playoffs. Is ridiculous.
I think they're gonna win by 12.
Okay, so 12-0.
Okay.
12
a high 12, a medium 12. So I consider a medium 12 like it's like 24-12.
Yeah. That's like what I'm thinking.
Kind of a medium 12.
Medium
right?
12.
Well, and then there's a low 12. There's like 12-0, right? Or there's 42-30. I don't know.
Because obviously we're gonna mix in some field goals because Robbie Gould
isn't.
So I think we'll win by 12.
Isn't Kyler Murray still hurt? Or he's.
I don't know. Good question.
He hurt his thumbs playing too much Call of Duty.
Too many video games.
Oh man, what a life! What a life that guy lives. Yeah, Niners. I'm gonna go Niners. We struggle against the Cardinals, man.
Because we have a hard time stopping Kyler Murray.
Yeah, but I mean, just historic. I mean, even when Kyler Murray before Kyler Murray got there, we always even we were head to head with Josh Rosen for a second, So that guy, talk about a miss. I might say a lot of things on here that I miss on, but man, that's a huge miss. Imagine being drafted.
They tried.
Yeah, being drafted and then getting there the next year and be like, nah, we're good, man. Yeah, we've seen enough of you.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah, thanks, pal. Yeah. Oh man. So anyway, okay. So score predictions around that. I'm going 21-17. There's no way we score more than 20 points. We don't score. We don't score touchdowns.
So we're gonna lose 21-17?
No, we're gonna win 21-17. We're gonna win 21-17.
You just said we're not scoring more than 20 points, and you picked 20.
No, did I say that? Rewind the tape. Did I say that?
Already wrong about his own prediction.
Did I say that? Or did this dog say that?
my god.
Bold predictions on the top of the Empire State Building. This is the Golden Gate Bridge. Alameda.
Wrong coast.
Inside of the Oakland Coliseum. By the way, if you haven't checked out Zoom and all the cool Zoom features, there are a very small amount of animals you can be. And I can pretty much guarantee that there's no animals on YouTube right now giving bold NFL predictions. Sure as hell, NFL Live isn't doing this. So record me. I want to be invited on the show. Anyway, 21-17. We're not scoring more than 20. That's my prediction.
But we lose.
Write it down.
Yes.
Write it down.
All right, I got it down. I'm gonna take the 49ers as well. 22-20.
Ooh.
22-20. I like it. Keep it close. Yeah. Do we win on a late second field goal?
No, Jimmy G is gonna throw a big pass in the 2-minute drill.
Let's go.
Jimmy G is gonna throw fourth quarter Jimmy.
Fourth quarter Jimmy.
Shauna?
What?
Oh, sorry, I just stopped my video. bit of a whirlwind ride over here. There we go. All right, what if I'm just totally blurry? Be in the grass guy.
You're gonna look like Carrie Lake. And that's like
So
Or
from
even
space,
filter
Shauna,
that she had.
what's your prediction for the Niners this weekend?
I said 24-12. They're gonna win by 12.
24-12. That's it, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
love it.
We are playing Price is Right rules, so if any of us are over, we automatically lose. But whoever comes within the closest goes to the Showcase Showdown. So, FYI,
Buckle up, everyone.
also probably get sued for that.
Gotta change it a little bit.
This is where we get in post production. All right, those are our NFL hot takes. As a recap, the Lions are amazing. Watch them more. Also, Justin Fields is amazing, FYI. We definitely should have picked him. We can definitely talk about that next week because a whole litany of opinions about that. We could have saved like 3 different draft picks. The next 3, not to drip. Anyway, I won't even get into that.
Next week. We'll talk about it next week.
On the pod. Lions, watch out for them. Niners by at minimum 12. And then Shauna doesn't quite know what she's talking about in terms of win totals from any year, really at all.
Hey, but it's fun though.
All right.
All right. Thank you for joining us on Let Us Later.
Oh, do we not have our surprise Twitter segment?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's my job. I
This is our
forgot.
pretty standard segment. Remember, when you're listening and watching Let Us Later, you might be confused because we're a political show. It's NFL shows, and we're skipping the Netflix segment this week. But Shauna finishes off our segment with a surprising Twitter reaction. Usually something racist and or misogynistic.
My
And
special.
ironically, something having to do with politics. So leaving us on kind of a sad note, Shauna's Twitter. Also,
Well, you know what's bananas right now is Twitter is like shutting down. So
yeah, I was gonna say we can go into that next week, right? How
Right.
Elon Musk is ruining Twitter.
oh
Dude,
my god.
Quick recap for the next week. He told everyone to basically fuck off inside Twitter the other day.
he did. Yeah.
That's what yes, can
He was like-
confirm.
He was like, work 19 hours a day or get fucked.
So this is, I mean, speaking of Twitter, this is what I was going to bring up. So
Okay.
this is a reporter. It's actually not, but it has to do with Twitter. New Twitter just alerted employees that effective immediately, all office buildings are temporarily closed and badge access is suspended. No details as to given why. This was a tweet sent at 4 p.m. today.
Okay, here's my
Wow.
question. Do Twitter employees get information through tweets?
So they have a Slack
Like,
channel.
do they not
Oh,
use Microsoft
Well,
Outlook
he's
like
been
everyone else
he's been
does?
firing people off of tweets. Like he said something, and one of the Twitter workers responded like, "No, that's not true," and he was like, "You're fired."
Also, I would say you can't fire me over Twitter. I feel like that's illegal. Like, there has to be some sort of like,
They're like looking into some of this
Yeah,
stuff, and people are trying to sue. It's a whole fucking debacle.
yeah.
But it's like he bought a new toy and is running it into the ground as fast as humanly possible.
Well,
It's beautiful. I think it's great.
it's a
I
mixture
mean-
of a weird dynamic. It's a weird dynamic to the fact that he's like, well, I want it to be completely fully free speech. So I guess no one needs to keep track of anything on it, right? So I don't need any employees. I don't need anyone to tell me what to do. But like, you still got to run the site, bro. Like, you can't just let it ride. Come on, Elon. You're better than that. We think maybe not.
Like, it's pretty bananas.
Yeah.
Because he's like a shit poster, basically. Except he owns the company now.
Yeah. And fires people via Twitter. Did Jack Dorsey fire people via Twitter? Can we get some confirmation on that?
I mean, he just hired a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Is what it sounds like.
Maybe if you tweet at him, you can get hired by him. Clearly,
it kind of
that's what they're.
seems like it at this point.
They don't go through HR anymore. They just go right over. Just DM me, slide into my DMs, and ask for a job.
Jeez, man.
So yeah, that was. I mean, we don't know how much longer we're gonna have a Twitter segment.
Yeah, but we can track it as it goes to complete horseshit. It's great.
Well, and that's why that was the tweet I was gonna bring up for our Twitter segment. Like, oh my God, they locked everybody out.
Yeah, they're quite literally. We're gonna have to go back to a MySpace segment.
Right.
Does MySpace run, by the way? Is it still alive?
I don't think so. Remember Justin Timberlake bought it for like a hot
JT
second?
bought it. Yeah.
That's cool. It's probably worth absolutely nothing. So it's probably bought it for like $5, from Tom. Tom on MySpace.
That picture of him, like, or whatever it was.
Yeah, he's like drawn, like creating MySpace in there. This is literally MySpace right here. Look at this. MySpace. I really gotta figure out the hand. This is gonna be way better in the metaverse. My hand's not gonna do it. We can just hang out in the metaverse next time.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Well, as always, everyone, like, comment below if you like our content, if you like what we're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo and all of the NFL. Go Lions, all Lions fans. Sorry we didn't mention our Angolan listeners today, but we will get into that at some point in time in the next segment. Like, comment. The more subscribers we get, the more merch we can send out. We're ready to send stuff. We got it loaded. Ronnie, we love you. Find us more people. They want to hear the content. They want to hear the goods. They want to hear Shauna say a bunch of ridiculous shit about stats she doesn't actually look up at any point in time.
I feel like stats. I feel like
yes. Because the next week's segment is called Facts Sally got wrong, and then facts that Shauna just feels like on a regular. Yeah,
I like it.
Tony's going to, where's Tony going?
Europe. Woo.
Where in the world is Tony Goebel?
Oh yeah, I'll be able to do the pod in Europe now that I have a phone that works.
Oh my God,
Tony's got a burner phone.
Now we're gonna have Spanish fans. That's amazing, dude. You got to do it in public though. Like you got to go to like a bar and bring the big
cafe.
Yeah. Bring the mic with you.
I'll just sit there with the big mic. Yeah.
You're not even gonna need a background.
While I'm watching the World Cup, we'll do the pod.
Oh, I bet they're going ape shit. We can do a World Cup pod. That's fun. Yeah,
we play Friday next week. We play
give our bold
America.
Are you going to a game?
No.
I was
not
all that hype. No
lies.
We just talked about this. How much we hate Qatar.
Oh, that's right. I thought you were flying to Qatar after.
Oh God.
Yeah. No. All right. Well.
Hard pass.
Starting to sound like the UFC fight song. Let us later crunch.